Is it ever right to cheat?
If you feel like cheating, watch out. Danger zone, right? Because something's happening in your relationship where either this is not the right person to be with, or there's something happening between the two of you that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I think cheating is an indication that the person is trying to solve a problem, but they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're literally leaking their sexual energy outside of the relationship. It's like almost like a bid for help, but no one usually sees it that way. And people usually cheat because they aren't feeling appreciated. And it's often men, from what I can gather. I think men cheat more than women. And I think there's a whole story around behind that.
So I think the research is that when we're younger, women tend to cheat a little bit more, but then we get older and then men tend to cheat a little bit more. I think more married men cheat than married women. What do you think of that?
Makes sense. I mean, women are better at just grinning and bearing it. If there's no sexual connection, they make some story about it. It's okay. They can tolerate it, which I don't think is healthy. And, if the sexual dynamic between two people in a relationship isn't alive and working, it's a litmus test for the health of the romance. And so I think your sexual connection is a high leverage place to put energy. 1% upgrade in your sexuality is like 100-fold upgrade in the actual dance. But back to cheating, I like to push back on the cultural assumption that there's the poor victim that's being cheated on, and then there's the cheater who's the perpetrator. I stopped looking at things like that anymore. I just look at it's a collab. Everything's a collab. And that's sort of edgy to assert. I'm not saying that someone deserves to be cheated on, but I am saying that relationships where there's cheating, there were signals and indicators way upstream that things were off, and both people were ignoring them to the extent that it got to the point of cheating. And I think, how attuned are you to your partner if you're surprised that they're cheating? If you're not having a regular healthy sex life and people are sexual animals, where are they getting their sexual connection from? So I think if you want your relationship to work long term, you have to make sure that you're proactively, consciously ensuring that there's a healthy sexual interaction so that that's getting nourished. I mean, sex is kind of like a food for the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the word cheating is a very interesting term, right? Because it implies doing something that is like sneaky, immoral, cheating in a card game, kind of situation.
It already has a slant in it, built in, that someone's doing something bad.
Yeah, and I would say, with good reason, because it's the ultimate kind of betrayal, right? Is because of the implications of the child and all of this kind of stuff, right? And the resources. But I would say if you're feeling like cheating, like if it's actually really starting to, feel like a temptation, watch out, because that's super danger zone for you in your relationship. I don't think I've ever met somebody who said, I'm just so glad that when my relationship started going wrong, that I started cheating, because that's what made my life just work for the rest of my life. It's what just helped everything work out, and it helped me resolve with my partner, and it helped us address our issues. It's usually a multi-year or decade ordeal to untangle and work out. Much better to say, this relationship is not working, end it, and then go and have whatever future relationships you're going to have.
Absolutely. The quality of completion of your last relationship governs your success in the next.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your last relationship was messy and chaotic and the wounds weren't cauterized and it's open, gaping, bleeding still, you can't just move on, because that sits in your sort of emotional karma and it haunts your soul. And so you've got to clean that up. And so I agree. I think bringing the issue with your partner up until it gets resolved. And if you can't resolve it, finding a way to graduate instead of break up, graduate from that school, from that relationship, allows you to then have a clean slate to explore a new possibility. But tangling up between your past partner and your cheating partner, again, I don't like the term cheating because it indicates that one person's doing something and the other person's passive. And again, I think infidelity is the result of systemically unattended to heartbreaks and wounds happening in the primary relationship.
And it's oftentimes, too, someone who is not actually bringing their resentments, their frustrations, what's actually going on to the other person, and saying to them, hey, this stuff's becoming a big deal. They're not communicating, hey, this is becoming a big deal. Hey, I think our relationship is not working. Hey, we need to get some help here. Right. And then actually getting to the point where they say, hey, this is a deal breaker now if we don't work these things out. And it's
almost like they're squinting at information, but both partners are squinting.
Yeah.
The person who's thinking about an infidelity and the person who thinks everything's good enough, they're both squinting at information that is there on the table, but it's uncomfortable or confronting or awkward to bring up. And they'd actually rather avoid the emotions that comes up from bringing up that difficult conversation. They'd rather avoid that and risk an infidelity. And I think, someone once told me, if you don't fuck your wife, somebody will.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good knowledge and to keep in the back of your mind. Like if you're not having a healthy sex life with your partner, they're an animal, they're a creature, and evolution wants them to procreate. It's the strongest force. It's the strongest creative force inside us. And make no mistake, your partner is a sexual being and you are a sexual being. And that sexuality is seeking creative playmates. And if it's not with your primary partner, it's going to start looking elsewhere. So the upstream move is to ensure that you're having support in creating a sexual life that is mutually nourishing.
Yeah. And also, it's just important to go in with your eyes open, because especially if you've got a family, if you've got kids and so forth, deciding to go and have a clandestine relationship outside of your partnership, it's probably more like, if you're feeling a little low on money, going and saying, I think I'm going to embezzle some money from the company I work for, but I'm just going to embezzle a little bit and, hope that nothing happens. That's a little more in line with the ultimate consequences.
I mean, also, we're not talking about the guilt and shame that comes from exploring sexuality outside your primary relationship. The amount of guilt and shame that must be coming up will interfere in your own sense of self-esteem, your own dignity, your own sense of worth.
Yeah,
and I think there's a cost, not just on the relationship that you're cheating on, but there's a cost on your internal sense of self that's hard to build back up. And remember, the quality of your next relationship is in direct proportion to your self-esteem. And so you don't want to do anything that undermines your self-esteem, because that takes away the kick in your step as you strut through the world.
Yeah. And likewise, I've never met anyone who said, I've cheated on my partner a bunch and I just feel so much better about myself because I did that. That just makes me feel like this is the thing that makes me superior in life.
Yeah.
It's a self-esteem degrader, reducer.
For everybody. You, your partner, the person you're having the affair with, everybody's self-esteem is reduced because nothing's on the up and up.
Unless you're a narcissist.
Why would you say that?
Because I think it's probably true.
Because they have no shame or empathy.
Well, I mean,
guilt.
the word narcissist is thrown around a lot, but if you're a person, and I shouldn't say this, with negativity to it, because each of us has our, kind of makeup. But if you're a person that does not experience empathy for other people, if you're, maybe super Machiavellian and maybe even have some sadism, you might enjoy the suffering that it causes in someone else.
Well, that's some dark shit. I don't know. Maybe that's true. And I think deep inside, even a narcissist's core, there's a part of them, their soul, that knows that they're trespassing on another human being. I mean, maybe they don't have access to that, but I think it's getting registered somewhere in their consciousness.
But I'm saying that brings pleasure to some people, right? And
well, don't marry those people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, well, I mean, what I'm saying is some people have drives, and if you go, study the psychological literature, some of these are not the kind of, mainstream, socially acceptable kind of, culturally acceptable narratives. And we need to know that this exists and that these variants exist
so it can be armed
in personality.
Or tracking it.
Aware of it.
Tracking.
And oftentimes, though, what's interesting is these are the most attractive people. These are the most charismatic people. These are the most sexy people. And so we just need to be aware of these things, because even though we're saying, I've never heard anyone say my esteem has been built or whatever, some people actually enjoy doing this stuff, just like some people enjoy harming other people or even killing them. And being aware of this you're in the jungle.
I'm hearing the data come out here. You want to make sure your daughter and young women know that this is out there. Also with men.
Exactly.
I mean, there's men and women who are narcissists.
Exactly.
But for us to be armed and tracking that there are people in culture that do not have a strong sense of guilt, shame, and empathy. And when you model them, if you model that they do, you'll be mismodeling their behavior.
And they are camouflaged, that they are masquerading as people who have guilt, shame, and empathy.
So sheep in wolf's clothing.
Exactly. Except it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. So in short.
So basically, don't marry narcissists.
I think Leonardo da Vinci said, temptation is easier to resist at the beginning than the end. So if you start feeling the temptation to cheat on your partner, big red flag should go up. And
maybe bring it to them?
Probably better to bring it to them than to do it.
Like if they said something like, hey, I love you, I'm committed, I haven't done anything, but I'm noticing I'm having these thoughts about different people and I see it linked to our unresolved conflict. Can we get some support? Can you get some help? Because I really value our relationship. And the last thing I want is for me to feel my attention wanting to go elsewhere.
And what we should never do is, if you're having a fight with your partner, right, go to them and say, if you don't give in or let me win, then I'm going to cheat on you, right? So we never want to use it as leverage.
Absolutely not.
If we're bringing it up.
Absolutely not. I think the moral of the story is have a lot of sex and keep the relationship healthy and make sure that you're working through your conflict so it's not festering underground like termites eating away at the foundation and it just collapses one day.
Yeah. Just be careful with this stuff because the consequences are massive.
Yeah. When you're playing with sex, you're playing with life and death.
Yeah.
And never forget that.